Here we are at the other window in Killasser porch, the other porch in Killasser Church, and this one is a window of an anchor. And you might wonder why there's an anchor there. It's not a symbol you see very often in a church window, in a stained glass window, but in the early church, the anchor was used in the catacombs in Rome and also other places in the Middle East, in Turkey and in Greece and in Palestine. The anchor was one of the early symbols of the church because it represented faith, the anchor of faith. Because as you know, if you're out on a boat and you throw down a heavy anchor into the water, the wind and the storm cannot push the boat away. The boat will stand there, even though it'll get a battering with the wind and you get a terrible hammering. Even so, the boat will not move because of the anchor which holds it firm. So our faith holds us firm, and our faith keeps us going in difficult times. But you might ask, even though that was a great symbol in the early church, you might say, well, even so, why would you have an anchor here in Killasser? Well, there is an answer to that as well. It's the shape of the church. This church has a main aisle, and it has two aisles, but they're not at right angles to the main aisle. They are at a different angle, a smaller angle than a right angle, and it was often called an anchor-shaped church. So there are very few anchor-shaped churches in Ireland, as far as we know, apart from Killasser. So the anchor then, when we made this window, which was only in 2018, we were looking round for a symbol, because we got the chalice and the other symbol, but we said, what symbol would we put here? We said, we put something interesting like the anchor, because this is an anchor-shaped church. And so if somebody asks, why is it an anchor, it gives me an opportunity, or gives you an opportunity now that you know about this. If someone ever asks you, you'll say, well, I saw a video on YouTube explaining this window, and we're told in that window that it's the anchor of faith, and that Killasser Church is an anchor-shaped church. And of course, nowadays, faith is something that will help us through difficult times. The anchor of faith will hold us firm in the storms of life. And many storms come along in our lives, tossing us here and there, and storms in the world, like the war that's going on in the Ukraine, economic challenges, recession, trying to make a living, all that kind of thing. It all comes, and it all makes life difficult. But our faith, one thing, our faith in Jesus Christ can help us to hold firm, and it can help us to be strong in our faith, and to not allow the storms of life to toss us around, or to drive us away, or even to get drowned, or to get overwhelmed by what happens. So faith is important, and so as we look at this anchor here today, and it's beautifully done. You have the rope, and you have the little spurs of the anchor, and the main shaft of it, and all that. As we look at the anchor today, we pray for that gift of faith, that our faith will be stronger, and that we will use. Of course, an anchor is no good unless it's used, because an anchor lying in a boat, that's no good. The boat will be tossed everywhere when a big strong wind comes. So that's no good. You see, the anchor has to be thrown out into the water, and to catch, it has to catch into the soil or the rocks or whatever at the very bottom of the river or the bottom of the sea or whatever. And so our faith is no good unless we use it. A lot of people have faith, but they don't use their faith. They may not pray, or they may not witness to the faith, maybe by going to church or whatever. But it's only when we use our faith and pray and ask God's help, and ask for strength in a time when we need strength and perseverance to keep going. It's only when we use our faith, really, that the faith can help us. And it's the same as I say with the anchor. It's only when the anchor is actually used and put into action that it can save the ship. And of course, the ship was a great image of the church as well. The church is a boat, going back to the time of the ark, with Noah and the ark. And the church was seen as an ark as well. and even the nave of a church, which is the main aisle, comes from the word navis, which is the word ship. So the church has often been seen as a ship as well. Once we're in the church, we're saved maybe from sin and from death through Christ's death and resurrection. So there's a lot to talk about with an anchor. So I won't keep going on and on, but so we pray, as I say, to be anchored in our faith, that we be strongly anchored in our faith, and then when all the storms of life come, we will be able to stand firm, and we won't be tossed about everywhere. So thanks very much for listening, and now you know about the anchor here in the porch.